We just witnessed the craziest trade deadline in NBA history, and a lot of things changed, so we must update our tier list for the 2025 NBA season, the final time before the final week of the season. I got 5 categories: favorites, contenders, pretenders, mid, and LOL. Favorites are obviously the best of the best. Contenders have a shot but are not quite on top. Pretenders are just not going to win the title, although there's real conversation about it. Mid is just really bad good teams or really good bad teams, and LOL means the season is over. We will start in the LOL category. We got the Washington Wizards, don't need to explain. The Pelicans record says it all for them. The Nets are certainly not great, and the Hornets have no Brandon Miller for the rest of the season. The Raptors aren't good, although they don't even look horrible on paper. And rounding out this tier, we have the Jazz. I don't need to explain much on any of those teams. Now shifting to the mid-tier, we start with the Blazers team that has looked pretty good of late, as Denny Avdija and Toumani Camara look like an elite forward duo next to 3 young guards who have all been showing out of late, especially Scoot Henderson. Obviously, they're not winning anything, but they are a step above the LOL tier right now, which is crazy since I thought they were just going to be a disaster. After landing De'Aaron Fox, the Spurs' future is hyped up, but the present right now isn't great considering the team still has major flaws, and most of them can be traced back to the youth. They aren't really good or really bad, they are just simply mid right now, and that's why they're in this tier. Detroit basketball has been amazing to witness this year behind Cade getting a competent supporting cast, and now he's an all-star due to that. We all know they aren't a joke anymore, but the Pistons are still mid. The literal definition of mid in the NBA is the Atlanta Hawks, as they just love to sit at 500. Trae Young should have been an all-star to begin with, not just an injury replacement. Paul George and Joel Embiid are the single reasons why the 76ers are not good this year, among others, but they're part-time players and have not been helpful at all to Tyrese Maxey, who has been playing out of his mind all year. Given their record, could honestly say the 76ers deserve to be in the LOL tier, but at the same time they play in the East and could make the play-in. We do know they will not be winning anything this year and are pretty much an accurate description of mid. I'm being nice to the Bulls and putting them in mid right now, but honestly they deserve to be in the LOL tier. My Phoenix Suns are a joke and should be in the LOL tier, but they are closer to a pretender than an LOL team. Sadly, no matter what happens, the Suns are probably playing their final half with KD, and the team will not make it past the first round if they somehow manage to make the playoffs, which isn't even at all a guarantee at this rate. Mid-tier team. The Sacramento Kings just missed the Pretenders cut, but at the end of the day, their defense is horrific and their offense isn't great all the time, and they have way too many weaknesses that could be exploited by any halfway decent team. Pretenders, frauds, whatever you want to call it, these next 7 teams, they have a little traction and conversation behind them possibly winning an NBA title. But in reality, they are not going to, and that is why they're in this tier. Hopefully not controversial, I have the Miami Heat here. Tyler Hero was a deserving all-star this year. He could have been a starter, and that wouldn't have been crazy. And Bam is finally playing good basketball again, and the team just added Andrew Wiggins, Davion Mitchell, along with Kyle Anderson in exchange for Jimmy, which was a great trade for them, but they still can't shoot well and do not have the killer superstar to lead them to a championship, resulting in them being pretty clear pretenders. Speaking of not being able to shoot, the Orlando Magic find themselves in this tier. The team has been free-falling ever since getting healthy, which is crazy, and no matter the superstardom of Paolo and the stardom of Franz, the team is handicapped on offense and will not pose any big threat to any type of contention and are pretenders. Jimmy Butler is a Golden State Warrior. Cool. Does this change much about this team? Not really. I think they'll still have their struggles in a playoff series, and unless I see them go on a dominant stretch over the next few months before the playoffs, I will still believe they are pretenders. With such a crazy reliance on Anthony Edwards, I find it nearly impossible for the 2025 Minnesota Timberwolves to be a serious team. He is scoring 40 points in many games, while the next highest player has an inefficient 13 in those games. What is going to happen in a playoff setting? They will get shut down, and their defense has been suspect this year, so it's not like they can hang their hat on that anymore. The Kyle Kuzma addition does not move the needle at all for the Bucks, and with Giannis and Dame's health track record already looking to be a factor in the playoffs, it is clear that the Bucks are pretenders right now, even with 2 All-Stars on their team, because even healthy, they haven't looked great. The Indiana Pacers are figuring things out and have looked good of late, but they are not consistent, nor good enough to compete with the 3 best teams in the East when all is at full strength. They are, in fact, pretenders. I struggle to place the Houston Rockets because, for the most part, they have looked like real contenders all season. They have slipped up of late, however, and the confidence I have in the team has slipped away with it. Obviously, injuries play a big part in this. Then again, the defense is usually a top defense in the league, but with that defense, they also find themselves with a horrid offense as they cannot shoot the ball nor generate any type of easy offense. Matching up with teams who can defend in the slightest is going to give the Rockets hell. Acknowledging that fact and understanding practically every team in the West can defend a little, I have to say the Houston Rockets are pretenders due to their offensive issues. Now we look at my 5 contenders. Let's start with the Mavericks. Health is going to be a big story. Yeah. But remember, any team that isn't healthy is going to have issues. So let's talk about what a fully healthy Mavs team looks like. You have 2 All-Stars in Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. Matter of fact, Anthony Davis is a superstar. You have Klay Thompson, who is finally remembering how to shoot a basketball, which is scary, combining that with his veteran presence. PJ Washington has played a much bigger role this season and has thrived in it. And then you have either of the Twin Towers in Gafford and Lively, who will complement Anthony Davis extremely well. The bench is loaded with Dinwiddie, Christie, Marshall, Martin, and the other Twin Tower, along with quality young players in Prosper and Hardy. What about this team fully healthy doesn't scream contender? Every player can defend and be extremely productive on offense, especially when looking at their ability to shoot the ball. This team is undoubtedly a contender, and as much as we talk about the health, it shouldn't negate the fact that this team looks like a clear-cut contender and has all the makings to be one. They're definitely not a favorite, but they're not a pretender, because if this team's fully healthy, they can win an NBA championship. They are that good. Shockingly, I have the Los Angeles Clippers as contenders. Is it bold? I honestly don't think so. James Harden is an all-star for a reason this year. Norman Powell should be an all-star. Ivica Zubac is a brand new player in a positive way. They have a surplus of two-way wings, most notably Derrick Jones Jr. Their bench now has scoring in Bogdan Bogdanovic, along with a reliable backup center in Drew Eubanks, which they addressed by getting those 2 players, and that's been their biggest weaknesses. I hate to bring it up, though. Kawhi Leonard also exists. This team is scary right now and are contenders, and will be a team you try to avoid in the postseason. Luka Doncic and LeBron James really should be enough to place the Lakers as contenders, but obviously they have a clear hole at the 5. But regardless of it, I think they are contenders. The New York Knicks scare me because of the concerns they have about depth and the fact they have struggled against top teams, specifically the favorites I have. If they were losing the games by anything around 10 points, I'd be fine with it, but they're getting beat up every single time they play a top team, and the games are so bad you have to turn it off. It's really ugly. Talent alone makes them contenders, however, to classify them as a favorite would just be a lie. Just missing out on the favorite tier, we have the Memphis Grizzlies. Injuries riddled them last year. They put the past behind them, though, and have come out and been one of the best teams in the Western Conference all year. Yes, Memphis has one massive issue, though, and ultimately it is going to be the reason why I can't say they are a favorite. That issue is their size, as they might have height. Matter of fact, they do have height. I'm not saying they don't have height, but they don't have a physical force that can handle other physical forces, and that may loom large come playoff time. They are contenders. They're not favorites quite yet. Also, they're not a proven playoff team yet. Let's just make that abundantly clear. The first favorite I got is the Denver Nuggets. I have been a doubter of them all year, so this might be crazy, but reality is setting in on this team and their season. Nikola Jokic is dominant, and with Jamal Murray playing high-level basketball again, MPJ, Westbrook, and Brown all playing better than expected, combined with other players elevating their play, it is pretty hard to avoid the fact that this team is a literal machine that is running perfectly right now on offense, and with their defense slowly figuring it out, they are the second best team in the Western Conference, and they are a favorite in my eyes. With hopefully no surprise, the Cleveland Cavaliers are favorites, and the biggest doubts I had about them centered around their small forward position. They just added DeAndre Hunter, who is in the midst of a career offensive season while playing elite defense. The Cavs are a clear favorite. Even more obvious, the Boston Celtics are the second favorite. And I don't think I should need to do much explaining here. And to end the video, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder as my favorite to win the NBA title right now. I do have my concerns about them, but at the end of the day, they are a young, hungry, gritty, have insane depth, good size, and have a superstar top 3 player in the league right now. The recipe for a championship with only one limitation. If you want to know what that limitation is, along with other storylines from last week in the NBA, click on the video on the screen, as it is my weekly recap called In Case You Missed It. That drops every Monday at 3. Last week we took a deep dive into the Thunder. You can also see my grades for every trade at the deadline in the upper right corner if you'd like. Y'all stay safe. Have a good one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.